Door County Daily News Live here at LaPlant Farms in Sturgeon Bay. I'm Tim Coles, and right now we are joined by Holly LaPlant from LaPlant Farms. But since it's May Beef Month, we're talking next door beef as well. Holly, thank you so much for having us. I'm glad that we have a live studio audience behind us as well. And tell us a little bit about LaPlant Farms, and then also kind of that journey to forming next door beef.
Well, LaPlant Farms was founded back in, 1947 when my great-grandfather bought the place. And I am now the fourth generation. And we have been dairy farming ever since. And in 2021, in the beginning, I decided I wanted to start selling beef right from our farm. And that's when I started the next door beef journey.
And how do you get your beef? Because a lot of dairy farmers have kind of gone through a similar process where they take some of their dairy cattle and they crossbreed them with Angus beef. Is that the story here with next door beef?
Some of our beef comes from our Jersey, or our Holstein and Jersey cross with Angus. A good majority of it actually comes from my own small Hereford herd that I started back 6 years ago now. I just bred some regular Holstein cows to some Herefords, and then I just started that way because at the time feeder cattle were far too expensive.
Yep.
So, that's how I started my small beef herd, and I only have 5 cows. So.
Okay. And a lot of dairy farms started to do that as a way to kind of diversify their portfolio, if you will, similar to people investing in stocks and stuff like that. They put a lot of money into the dairy side of things. Dairy, obviously, what we've seen, you see those prices go up and down, left and right. It seems like every direction, things like that. How has that been important to have beef as almost a complement to what you do on the dairy side?
Well, another part of it is raising replacement heifers is very expensive. It's one of your largest expenses besides feed on the farm. So if you don't need to have as many heifers, you have a better option of breeding a good percentage to beef. And there's always a market for black cattle. And you've seen that all the time. People are asking for Angus cattle, and that's what they've been moving the markets towards. The price of beef has been steadily creeping up, and it doesn't look like it's going to be dipping down, hopefully, in the future.
Knock on wood. Yes. Somewhere. We'll knock on wood somewhere. Now, when people come and visit you, what's the process like? Is it appointments? Can they swing on by? How do you kind of interact with your customers?
Typically, people just message me on Facebook or call me or text me, and we just set up a time that works best for both to come and pick out whatever they're looking for.
Now, what's been your favorite part of going on this journey with Next Door Beef and being able to interact with customers?
The consumer information for some people are a little lacking on some stuff. I enjoy the conversations. We have very good talks. People ask a lot of questions, which is great. I do end up giving a good majority of the people who stop in, specifically if they're from out of town or even out of state, we do a lot of farm tours.
Okay.
So I do get to do a lot of consumer interfacing that way with educating and informing them of how actual practices are done.
Now, one of the questions that we did get from Facebook when we kind of teased this, Denise Plasmeyer from the Door County Farm Bureau that is sponsoring these Ask a Farmer segments, Door County Farm Bureau, Cultivating the Future of Agriculture, is, what are some of the challenges that you have in agriculture raising beef here in Door County?
Just for beef in particular, marketing, that's a big part. I have gotten a little savvy on how to use Facebook, and it's a learning curve, and you have to get your information out there, and you think that you're kind of hounding people on Facebook if you're constantly posting, but you're not, because the more you post, the more times people see you, and then you have a better chance to have somebody actually come and stop in.
Now, I'm sure one of the things that you have to do both on Facebook when you're marketing your product And then also when they come in and have those conversations, so you got to address some misconceptions, because there's a lot of different things that go into beef production. We hear things like grass-fed and pasture-raised and things like that. What are some of the big misconceptions that you have to address as, the operator of Next Door Beef?
We do get asked a lot if we are grass-fed or grain-fed. We are actually a grain-fed conventional farm. We are not organic. A lot of people ask if we give antibiotics, which there are no antibiotics in meats. They're tested for that. We follow that as farmers and producers very closely. We never want to put that into the food ever. Added hormones, that's another big question, and which is another thing we do not do on our farm. And people they see a lot of buzzwords out there, and I think it gets them a little bit confused and nervous. And I'm glad people are very open about their questions, and they're quite receptive on actually getting the information too. They're not like confrontational.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear too, because you do see that and you do hear that you're just trying to educate people and stuff like that, but obviously you can get information from just about everywhere. Do you find that education piece hard, or has it kind of come easy to you to be able to educate the consumers, or when you have farm tours, be able to kind of talk to them about maybe addressing the misconceptions, or giving them a fun fact about beef production that maybe they never thought of?
The more conversations that I've had, it's the easier it's gotten. You can kind of push through a lot of the misconceptions, but if they'll always hammer the same handful of questions. If you can just explain it all out in one really well thought out sentence, then they're like, oh, okay. And then instead of worrying about something along the lines that we've talked about, they move towards, okay, well, tell me a little bit more about your farm, please. And then we can tell them about how our animals are raised and how everything here is born here and it stays here until the day it has to leave to get processed, and then it comes right back.
Now, one of the questions we got is that obviously, you look at the cows and the steers that you raise, and you go to the grocery store, there's a lot of different cuts of beef that you can get. How do you make those recommendations? What is that conversation like? Because obviously you can say, give me a steak. You're going to say, what kind of steak?
Yes. I have learned over the last few years that people are very particular on their cuts of steak. A lot of it is also seasonal. When you're in the winter months, you'll do a lot of roasts and stew meats and stuff like that. But when you're getting into summer, people are particular about their steaks, and then you have to have the conversations. Okay, do you like bone in? Do you like bone out? Do you like the more rare kind of cuts? Like, what are we talking about? You want the most economically priced cut you can get? Let's go with a sirloin. So it's very customer based. They have to make their decision on what they like.
If Holly is trying to sell a cut of beef to Holly, so you're selling to yourself here. What's your cut of choice?
Cut of choice or steak of choice?
Steak of choice, let's say.
Porterhouse.
Porterhouse. Okay, that's my favorite too. So I'm glad that the beef farmer is agreeing with the beef consumer on that cut of steak.
Why is it your favorite?
Why is it? Because there's a lot of it.
Okay, all right, you got me there.
It seems like the cuts I get, it's usually like, if there's 2 porterhouses in the package that I get from my uncle's farm from across the state, there's 2 in there. I can have one, and then everybody else fights over the other one. Everybody else maybe watches their portions a little bit better than I do, but
I eat the whole steak. Don't feel bad.
See, once again, I'm glad that I have that permission there. What is your favorite thing about raising beef?
I just like having the animals. And I guess that's kind of a silly question, or a silly thing to say, because we have...
It was a silly question too, but...
all of the, the dairy cows.
Us. Yeah, what do you like raising about us?
I actually really enjoy being able to bring quality beef straight to the consumer, especially my neighbors, my family, stuff like that, my friends. I enjoy being able to supply them something that I'm truly proud of.
And another question that we had at the office is that just like there's a lot of different cuts of beef that you can get. There's also a number of different, breeds of beef cattle that people can get. Is there a difference between, you have the crossbreeds with the Angus, you have the Hereford breed that you crossbred with some Holsteins as well. What's the difference? Should people be paying attention to that at all? What's kind of the MO with that?
When it comes to beef breeds, they have different characteristics that you're looking for. When I decided to go with Herefords, I wanted good mothers, easy to work with, calm, and so far that has been the case with all of my mothers. I can walk up to them, I can throw a halter on them, I have no problem. They have great calving ease. When it comes to the consumer, if they're crossbreds, it doesn't really matter what breed of beef. A lot of people think they have to go with a black animal. They have to go with the Angus. They don't. Herefords taste just as good as Simmental. Simmental tastes just as good as Charolais. If you're going to get into the more out there kind of breeds, you're looking at like Limousins or Belgian Blues, and then you have your double muscle breeds, but that is a whole different ballgame.
I only was able to identify a couple of those breeds. So everyone saw the comment, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take your word on it. You obviously got it covered there. One of the things that's really cool about, obviously working and living in this area is that you get to see kids and young adults kind of get back into it. You said that you were a fourth generation here at LaPlant Farms. You're seeing even those generations get even longer, 6, 7 generations continue in it. How encouraging is that for you to kind of see, some of your peers go back to the farm, seeing even people younger than you going, you know what, I want to help on the farm. I want to help kind of keep this tradition going.
It's nice to see that people want to get back in touch with their roots, even if it's people who decide I want to just kind of like live off the land. That's great. I think that is a fantastic way of doing things. When it comes to friends that want to go back to their family farms, every farmer wants to see that. That is the best thing you can see, because that's a legacy that if it doesn't continue, you lose it. And we're down under 2% of the population that feeds the rest. It's not a good percentage.
Do you have friends that maybe grew up on farms, have gone away, and if they have, what would be your words of encouragement if they kind of thinking about maybe going back, unsure if they should go back? What's kind of your words of encouragement? Be like, come on, come back to the farm.
It's, as I've always been told, I grew up on a farm and I can contest to this. It is a great place to raise a family. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work, but you have something that you're truly proud of, and it's a passion. And like the ladies back here, they take all of your time. Beef is a little bit more forgiving when it comes to having time off, but the dairy cattle are not nearly as much. But if it's in your heart, you definitely want to go back to doing it.
And with this being May Beef Month, what is that message that you want to be able to share with consumers as they go to the grocery store and they're looking at packs of ground beef, or they're looking at those different cuts of steaks and roast and things like that? What's that message that you want to share with consumers?
All beef is raised without antibiotics. Please do not listen to any mainstream media that tells you that it's dangerous for you. If you are ever at all worried about the beef that's in the grocery store, just find a local rancher or farmer. We'll be more than happy to help you. We have so many people, even just in Door County, that raise beef locally. We are more than happy to answer any questions, but please just enjoy beef, because it's the best quality protein you can get.
And you mentioned there's kind of a network of farmers that do this too, right? They have their farm, and then they're able to kind of take some of that beef and put it out into the community, kind of connect those dots to what's on their dinner plates, to the farms and things like that. How important is that they have that network of farmers that you're not necessarily competing, but you're kind of working together to make sure that story of agriculture gets told?
Farmers in general are very good at sticking together and pushing, not pushing is probably the best way to put it, explaining and putting the proper message out there. You want to be all on the same page, and you want people to trust their food and to trust farmers because we care about what we're doing.
All right, we'll go to the studio audience. Girls, you got any questions? Oh, you're all looking away. Just in case. Going once, twice. All right. They'll have questions after we turn off the camera.
Sure.
Of course, that's how that works. Holly, one more time, tell us a little bit about Next Door Beef, and if people want to contact you about, getting that next, pound of hamburger or whatever families might want to put on their dinner plate next.
You can find us on Facebook at Next Door Beef. Anytime you are looking for any cut, I try to carry every individual cut that you can get off of a steer in there. You just have to message me, call or text, and we can set up a time to get you whatever you're looking for. And if it's something a little bit more weird, I can certainly have it cut and we can get it for you the next time we have another steer processed.
Well, this has been our first edition of Ask a Farmer. We'll tour around the peninsula. I believe next month we're at the Sevastopol FFA Dairy Breakfast, host Wilkie R. Farm. So looking forward to reconnecting with the Wilkie family next month here on Door County Daily News Live. This edition brought to you by the Door County Farm Bureau, cultivating the future of agriculture. I'm Tim Coles. Holly, thank you so much for having us here at LaPlant Farms and Next Door Beef.
Yes, thank you for having me as well.
You've been watching Door County Daily News Live.